Okay, we're on, guys.
Okay.
Ready? All right.
Something's wrong.
Let's call the November 8th, 2024 Central Board of Architecture Review hearing to order. Do we have any members of the public who wish to address the board regarding an item that is not on today's agenda? No.
Not, if you're online and wish to speak on an item not on the agenda, please raise your hand. Not seeing a raised hand, so no public comment.
Okay, agenda status report.
So there was a few changes to the agenda. Item number 2, just want to clarify if the square footage is correct for 24 BAR 118. And then for item number 3, the city's listed as Los Olivos, but it should have been Longwood.
Okay, is that it?
And that's all.
Okay. Let's wait until we get to item number 2 and we'll make sure about that.
Okay.
You'll have to have fun too.
Okay.
Okay, minutes of October 11th. I didn't see anything.
No. You make the motion.
Second.
Okay. You've been covered? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Motion carries. All right. Informational briefings. Goodness, there was something I was going to tell you guys. I can't remember what it was. Anybody have anything? Did we get the new, has David finished dates for next year?
So he did send me a draft calendar, so I will be sharing that with you and just verifying that.
So we should be getting, right around the time of the December meeting, we should be getting the calendar for next year,
Okay.
so. Okay. Member recusals, I have a conflict with item number 2.
And myself as well, number 2.
Both of us. Okay, anybody else? All right. Nicole, staff update?
Good morning. I don't have anything today. I'm just gonna let you know I'm a bit sick, so I'm gonna try not to talk too much.
I can't hear you yet, Nicole.
Can you hear me? Hello?
We still can't hear you, Nicole.
Hello?
Hey, Nicole, Brett Jones online. I can hear you fine.
I can't, Brett, are you talking? Because I can't hear you either, so we might have a technical issue here. Hold on a second.
Yeah,
Thank you, Brett. I was like, oh no, I'm going crazy.
yeah.
Brett and Nicole are both talking, but we're not hearing them. All right, try it again, guys. I think we got it.
Can you hear me?
Okay, go ahead with your staff update, Nicole.
I don't have anything today. I just want to let you know I'm a little sick, so I'm gonna try not to talk too much so I don't start coughing.
got it.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, standard agenda, item number 1, 24 bar 125, Hotchkiss accessory structures. And we have some minutes from last time. Do we have anybody here in the room who's here to present this? Or is everybody online?
Brett's online.
Okay. All right, so the comments from last time were provide information on the adjacent structure that is under construction so that the CBAR can make the finding that the proposed structure is compatible with existing development on site. Information needed is color, details, and materials for the adjacent structure. The BAR needs more information on how the proposed design is in keeping with the main house currently under construction. That's kind of a duplicate remark. 3, study whether there is a way to have a better fenestration flow on the elevation with the RV garage. 4, string lights are not compliant with dark sky requirements. Reconsider lighting for the dining area. And 5, it is unfortunate that the pool cannot be located close to the home for ease of use. Project to return for preliminary final full board. And let's see, today you are here for preliminary and final. Okay. You want to go ahead and pull the drawings up?
Yeah.
We have,
Bethany, this is Brett. Is no one's in the audience there? Liz or Tom?
no, sir.
Huh. We originally were number 2 on the agenda. So I wonder if they're gonna show up here any minute. They said they were gonna be there in person.
Well, that's kind of what I expected, and I didn't see them anywhere.
Interesting. Do you want to continue this one to let the next one go and I'll call her?
Okay. We could do that.
I mean, it is a simple project. I think
Yeah,
they were
I
bringing,
remember when it was here last time.
yeah.
I mean, do you, it's up to you, Brett. Do you want
Yeah,
us to kind
let's
of wait or?
Let's continue one if you don't mind and I'll call her.
Okay, so you want us to wait? Okay.
Yes. Thank you.
Let's go to item number 2, 24/118 Hunter Dooley Family Trust Garage. And I will go get Ms. Puck and she'll run it here.
She's probably still on the Zoom.
Yeah, she said she'd get off when I
Okay. It's a little rough go today. So you guys don't think we have a sense of humor?
It may be right.
We're trying, but.
So all of a sudden, this past weekend, there's pheasants around the house.
Oh, really?
Dooley Family Trust Garage. And this is here for
I think it's the first time I've seen it.
first time, right?
Yeah.
So, and it's an ADU with an attached garage, correct? Is that what we're,
Yes.
Do you want to come up to the podium?
yeah,
You have to speak loudly because the mic is on.
So this is our owl right here. This is what's captured in our audio
Yeah.
and camera. So just make sure you speak loud so it can.
Perfect. Well, my voice carries pretty well, so I think I should be okay. Hopefully. But let me know if there's anything that I need to do differently. I'm Tom Jess with Era Studio Architects here representing the client. Ken Hunter is on his way over. We thought we were a little bit later on the agenda, but I called him, let him know. He said no, he's only 5 minutes out. So what we're proposing is there's an existing residence there. There was an area that was graded out for an ADU or a secondary dwelling when the original house was built, and now we're proposing to construct that on the site. I think if you go to the site plan, you can kind of see where it is. There it is. So there's the existing residence. It's a large parcel. The ADU that we're proposing is very much in keeping with the style and the character of the existing house, same materials, same kind of look and feel to the building. I believe it's the attached garage that required us to come to C-Bar, whereas otherwise it would be straight to a building permit, and we've actually submitted the plans for the building permit. We weren't aware of that requirement, but here we are. We did send in a color material board that kind of shows but if you can go to the floor plans, I'll just walk you through it real quick, just to kind of, maybe, there you go. It's pretty straightforward. You can see the garage there on the right-hand side. There you go. Living, kitchen, 2 bedrooms, pretty straightforward, complies with all the ADU requirements. And then we did, like I said, we did send in the color material board that shows the elevations, but I have hard copies as well, if that's helpful. I'm not sure if you have them on there. I don't.
Was it under the photos?
I think it was something that we emailed fairly recently. There's the site, there's that pad that I mentioned was graded out previously. So we're just building within that existing pad that was graded for that. I can hand you the hard copies, but obviously it wouldn't show up on Zoom. Okay. But yeah, the existing house, I think the camera's on, right?
Yes.
But the existing house has the wood siding, metal roof, there's some stone accents, so we're keeping all of those and being consistent with the existing house. Vince is an architect in our office. Maybe he's telling you where the file is, but.
Hey, Tom, yeah, I just wanted to say, I have the color board on my screen if you'd like me to go ahead and share my screen.
It's up to you.
Unfortunately, we're not able to share the screen, so unless. you want to approve that.
What exactly was the package that was submitted? What's the color board, image part of the package? We should be able to review
So the only things
the things that you
submitted
have in your
were
hand, if that is the submittal package.
It was submitted this week.
this, to Adam.
Wow,
Vince, do you know who you submitted that to?
Right, to Adam.
When?
this week.
So, okay.
So that's late.
I mean,
But regardless, we do have the
unfortunately.
elevations on there. You're happy to look at the elevations that are in the submittal package. And
Sure, why don't you just walk us through the entire package?
Yeah.
Then we can determine
What's needed.
what's needed or not needed.
okay. So, yeah, so we looked at the site plan, the floor plan, roof plan is a sloped roof. It's a metal roof.
That's fine.
Single story. And then I think the next sheets would be the elevations. Yeah, so we have, you can pan it just a little bit. The front elevations at the bottom, you can see there's a roof over the shed or a hip roof over the entry. There's a chimney element that has the stone on it. Actually, it's to be consistent with the existing. There's a stone wainscot and a board and batten siding, exposed rafters. Pretty straightforward. It just, like I said, was designed to relate to and be consistent with the main residence.
I can't read the height of the building. What is the height?
If you pan over to the right on the screen right there, it's written right there, 16 feet is,
16,
yeah.
okay.
I'm gonna go to the next page.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's about it. But feel free to do whatever you.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So the
we'll
square
start.
footage is 1916, right? Not 11,916.
No.
Oh, there's a typo.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
typo.
Yeah, they added an extra number in there.
Yeah, when I first
Just
saw
to
that,
make
I
sure.
had a little heart attack.
Yeah, no, it's just a 2-bedroom ADU.
Can we carry on with questions or we're gonna
Yes.
come back around again? We're good.
Yeah, go ahead.
You could see this from Alamo Quintana
I don't think you can.
up on Random Oaks.
I mean,
And you're under that ridge line, of course, right?
Correct.
At 16 feet. Okay.
Denise? any questions?
Teresa, could you, I'm sorry,
No.
could you just go back to the floor, the site plan real quick? Just,
Is this page okay?
Where's the house?
Yeah, could you
If
go?
you go to the site plan right before it, there it is.
Okay, got it.
So
Okay, there.
that was the enlarged site plan.
Okay,
So you come in at the driveway and then you would make a right. So you come in at the bottom of the page, you make a right into the ADU, or you would continue on.
That's an existing driveway. The one that
Correct.
swings around.
Yeah, we're not proposing any new roads or access, just finishing out the pad that was there. And I think there were some photos of it that were submitted as
Okay.
well, some of the existing.
and that's already that graded pad that you. the
Correct, yeah,
photograph.
it's all been graded out. This was planned for originally. It's just being constructed now.
Mhm. Thank you.
That little thing at the bottom is
Yeah.
really cool. I don't know, you can see it's like a little tunnel and a pavilion. It's like a little underground cave structure that you go underneath there, and it's got lighting and a little wine cave, and then that circle at the bottom is kind of like a gathering place, and it's got views over the whole valley with opening doors. It's really gorgeous.
Is
But
that like a 20s thing, the,
Sounds like
It's
a
actually-
site visit.
yeah, Ken Hunter is actually very, he's the owner. He is coming here, but he's very into like 60s artwork from the 60s and 70s music scene.
Mhm.
So the walls are lined with that artwork, and there's
Very
some
cool.
wine tasting in there. It's really interesting. It's really neat.
So generally, the house is of a similar character to what's.
Yeah, and I mean.
Do you-
you can see it
do you
here.
have any
Pictures or.
pictures and can you go back to the,
pictures?
the site photographs you did
Yeah,
have?
so there's the pad.
Have you told us of the existing house?
Were they, I don't,
Oh, wait, could you slow down a little bit? Yeah, that one.
yeah, that's the curve and the driveway where the,
So it's pretty much dropping off on 3 sides?
correct, on the front, back, and the far side.
Mhm.
And then Adam did, share the material report that was sent to him, and it was sent within the time frame. It was just not uploaded.
Yeah.
So it was sent to us.
Oh, I see, okay.
It just didn't make the time frame.
No, she said we
Yeah,
were
made
in
the
the time
time
frame.
frame,
No.
this wasn't uploaded.
Into boxing.
That's what I mean. It didn't.
Make
It
this,
just didn't get the seconds.
Right.
Yeah, and I guess it was still available, so if someone called to review the plan strength thing, they were still gonna be available for review because they were.
Got it.
So.
Okay.
It looks like there's some more pictures. Teresa, just one more time, just.
could you just briefly talk us through the materials on the existing house?
Yeah, yeah, I'll just,
Metal, we board and back.
Did that get put in with the rest of the?
it got sent to Adam. I don't know if, it doesn't look like it's in that folder.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Okay.
You can only get
Describe it. It's an absolutely lovely house, built in the farm style character. It has a board and batten siding with authentic boards and authentic battens. It's painted an off-white color. There's a gray standing seam metal roof and stone accents that are natural field stone, large format stones across the wainscoting, the chimney, the enclosure around the outdoor barbecue area. There's some metal trellises on the side. It's a long single family or a single story house for the most part, although there is one small area that's elevated. There's in the center of the building, there's a little 2-story element on the existing house.
Is that like the tower element?
I know you can't look at that.
Well, I'm pretty familiar with this site because actually you can see this from quite a few houses.
Mhm.
It's
That's why.
It's quite
Mhm.
prominent in the neighborhood.
But I think the ADU is off to the side, it's only gonna be one story, but
Is there a landscape plan?
there's not really a landscape plan. The idea would be to continue just fill in the area with the similar, the natives that are there and similar landscaping to the main residence.
How about the paving material to get to the garage?
That should be in the package if you're not mistaken. I think it's gonna be
It should be a shell driveway.
shale.
Yeah, and actually, I think it was shown on that keynote, on the previous page.
I mean, large site plan. Oh, there's the keynotes. Okay. Off to the right there, but you gotta zoom in. See.
I just want to be clear that if we're talking about anything that protrudes into the skyline, we're talking about views from public views.
Yeah, that's why I asked.
And just want to clarify that in the minutes.
Are we gonna come up with a list or can I ask for a photo soon? Is that at this time,
For photos of
the whole property?
the whole property. Alan, did you have any other questions?
My question is, I think I know where, you say you know where it is, I think I know where it is. Is it possible to build anything there and not be in the skyline?
On
I
that,
mean, yeah, I mean, so I think that's, we have to take that into consideration too. Can't preclude them from building just because of where the thing is located. Where you can build a pool there, they see the edge of the pool.
any other questions from the board?
No.
We'll move to public comment.
If you're online and wish to speak on this item, please raise your hand. Not seeing a raised hand, no public comment.
So, oh, what was that?
Oh, they're trying to share their screen.
Oh. Does Vincent want to talk?
No, he was just trying to share his screen.
So, let's move to board comments. And this is here for consent. Correct?
Yes,
Okay.
conceptual review, yeah.
Yeah, conceptual. Need to finish my. Okay. Who wants to start?
Just, could you go back to the elevation? I think it's a really nice project. I think the architecture is charming and appropriate for the area. I think a landscape plan would be handy, maybe to address some shading, shade issues that will probably, just to mitigate the sun exposure. But I think it's a really nice.
Do you want to be more specific than as
Landscape
far as
plan.
handy goes? For our minutes.
Okay, I think that some shade trees would be recommended, would be useful for this project.
Okay, I'll go.
Okay.
Of course, I think we need to see a lighting plan, which is incorporated in the landscaping and on the building. Of course, it has to be dark sky compliant, so pay attention to those details. Otherwise, I like the architecture a lot.
There's no external lighting.
Please, Laura.
There is no external.
There isn't, that's what I'm asking.
Well, I would think for code, there would have to be something.
Well, that's why we're gonna bring it next time for us.
Yeah. Comments?
Yeah, I think if we, take you for your word, what the verbal description of the existing home is, it fits the character of it. And my only other comment would be that either by code or for practical reason, you probably want some lighting on the garage, and it would be good to show that in the package next time.
Yeah, we do have lighting on the garage. There's some light fixtures, and I did bring a copy of what they look like, but they won't upload it to the package, so I'll keep them to myself.
Okay, make sure they're on the drawing.
Correct.
Okay.
Alan?
Nothing additional.
My only comment is I'm really familiar with this site and, in the particular soil conditions and things, and, any disturbed area will be, it's really hard to revegetate this stuff. And so I think an intentional landscape plan is desired, and also it is on, obviously, promontory. And so it's from just livability. I agree with Denise that I'd like to see a very simple landscape plan showing vegetation and some trees around the building, not to negate the view, but to give some solar relief, because that's just burning out there.
Hot and dry.
It's very exposed. And so that's my only comment. We have the lighting, the landscape, and we could come. Driveway material. I believe we have consensus on the board that the overall project size, bulk, and scale is fine for the site. So how would we like to see this come back? Preliminary final? All right.
Yeah.
So you will make sure you look at the checklist and that you have everything that you will need. So we don't have to send you back for one little thing.
How much time before the meeting do they need to upload? Usually
Wednesday, so like Wednesday before noon.
Wednesday before.
So like
noon.
this, yeah.
So it would have been this last,
Yeah, like 2 days ago.
oh, really?
It's
really short.
I would recommend, that's the rule, that's
That's the rule, but
the rule, but
yeah.
in the real world, I would
By the time I release the agenda, which is
double that.
like Friday before.
Yeah.
That way it gives the members enough time to review the plans.
Okay,
Yes,
Okay.
best practice.
well, thank you.
Thank you. Would you send them in again?
Yeah.
Everyone working.
Where was Bethany sitting?
She's over
She's
there.
there.
Okay, Lowell was here. So we can move to item number 3.
One,
Oh,
or
one.
One got skipped and we're ready to.
if we're ready to, or
Apparently I missed something. Okay.
You get to do one now too.
Have to do one as well?
Yeah.
I think Bethany's coming back to Elm Lake.
Brett, did you hear anything from your client on that?
Oh, Liz is already.
Yeah, good morning. Liz is affected by the fire, so she couldn't get up there. I believe she's on now and has her hand raised. I forwarded her, Teresa, I forwarded her my invite, but maybe she can't use that. Not sure.
Yeah, she's online already.
Okay.
I think I just was able to upgrade to a panelist.
Yes.
Can you, everyone hear me? Okay, sorry about that, everyone. Okay, yeah, my power's been out for 2 days, so it kind of threw off my week here, and then I was just scrambling and forgot about Friday here. So, anyways, I really apologize for that.
Liz, would you like me to go ahead and read the comments from last time and then you can address those?
Yeah, that's
Okay.
great.
Okay, so provide information on the adjacent structure that is under construction so that the C-bar can make the finding that the proposed structure is compatible with existing development on site, because we need more information on how the proposed design is in keeping with the main house currently under construction. Study whether there is a way to have a better fenestration flow on the elevation with the RV garage. String lights are not compliant with dark sky requirements. Reconsider lighting for the dining area. And it is unfortunate that the pool cannot be located closer to the home for ease of use. Okay.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. So what we did to take a look at how these accessory structures relate to the main residence, you can see up in the top left of this sheet, we prepared a few different renderings to illustrate the materials and how they relate to the main house. The idea for these accessory structures was not necessarily to have you know, matching materials, but more complementary. And the idea is that these structures are more of the landscape. We wanted them to be complementary in the way that, you know, it's kind of natural earth tones with the weathered steel, you know, kind of the materials you'll see a lot in these, you know, rural areas that relate to the landscape. And so you can see this image here with the trellis. So the materials of this structure are the weathered steel, the canvas, and then softening all of that with like vine pockets with the vines growing up to kind of be this very nice little dining area for them to have outside. So let's go to the next page. I'm not sure where the renderings are, but we might want to jump to those.
Yeah, I would suggest that.
Yeah.
Of the existing structure. Do you have any information on the existing structures?
Yeah, so I did include, if you go back to that previous sheet, the elevations of the existing or under construction structure. And the primary materials here are the green standing seam roof, the kind of lighter colored buff stone veneer, and then the hardy board and batten siding, which is like kind of a like a creamy yellowish color. And so I think if we go back one sheet, I tried to do a few renderings that included the main house with you know, the structures that are adjacent to it. So on the top left, you can see a portion of the kitchen that's on the right-hand side, and then the barbecue area. And that same stone that's on the main house is reflected in this site wall that wraps around that back area. And so, and it's also on the barbecue itself. What we wanted to do with this structure was to create something that didn't necessarily compete with the architecture of the main house, but that more related to the landscape and kind of building that structure into the landscape wall, and then kind of relating it to the trellis as well. So on the top right, that same image that was on the cover sheet, which shows the main house in the background and the trellis, the middle images are kind of like a close-up if you were standing at those accessory structures looking towards the house. And then the bottom images are of the garage, which is a separate structure. It doesn't really relate to the main house, I mean, in terms of its location on the site, because it is quite detached. So you're not really going to be looking at both structures at the same time, but we did mirror those same materials. We have the stone wall, the low wall that you can see on the lower right, or sorry, lower left-hand image, and actually the lower right as well, like a low stone wall that has the same stone as the main house, the board and batten siding, which is the color is different on this structure. And it's a more brown color to kind of relate to, you know, the landscape that it's in, kind of fade it away a little bit more since it isn't the primary structure. And then there's also an existing barn on the property, which is brown as well. And so the idea was to kind of relate this structure more to that barn element rather than like try and have it relate too much to the main house. So the idea is just to have very neutral materials that work well within the landscape. Okay, let's see. And let's go to the next page. And I think I sent 2 different packages, so I'm not sure if they're still in 2 PDFs or if there's one PDF, but
One, I believe.
okay. Okay, they were able to combine it. Okay, is there another page here? Yeah. So this is just the plan of the barn area again. And the reason why that pool was relocated, we did have it up near the main house originally, and we actually went through the entire building permit process with the pool up near the main house. And after everything had been permitted, the owners were like, we really don't want the pool there just because of the wind. They wanted to relocate it into kind of an area that was able to be a little bit more protected since the main house is kind of up on a knoll and the area of the pool was after being out on the site, they felt like that area of the site was too exposed to have a pool and really have it be comfortable for them.
Keep going.
So let's go to the garage elevations if we can, because I think that was another comment.
Number 10. Okay. Yep, garage elevations, that's it. That's the plan of the elevations.
Okay, so this is the barbecue, the trellis.
And did you just remove all lighting from the trellis?
Yeah, so the idea here was just to have temporary lighting, and we're just providing power. So if they needed to, you know, plug in something for, you know, temporary power, they have an outlet, but they would bring lanterns or something else out there to light that structure. So this is the garage elevation. And what we did do was kind of simplify that front elevation. Originally, there were 2 windows on that upper level. The owners really wanted to have the larger door towards the outside because that's where they think, you know, that's where they wanted to park their RV. And then the smaller door in the center, the idea was to have some sort of like storage or like an area where they could put like overflow storage up there. So that's the reason why that door is lower in that location. Kind of like attic storage area. Other than that, nothing really has changed about this structure. So, and then I do want to go back to the material board, which is kind of, I think it might be like the 4th page on this set. And then I did include some concept images. So the lighting, which is the same as proposed at the main house, kind of this gooseneck, dark charcoal lighting fixtures, downlights. Same windows that are at the main house with the dark aluminum clad windows, and that's at the barn, or sorry, the garage structure. The board and batten siding at the garage, and then the stained heavy timber. So the top portion of this is the proposed materials, and then the bottom portion are the existing materials that were previously approved for the main house. So you can kind of see there's a lot of similarities there. In fact, a lot of, you know, basically duplicate materials, but then introducing a few different, you know, elements that relate to the weathering steel for the fence and the accessory structures and kind of tying that all together. So, I think, was there anything else that we needed to address as part of this? Okay, so I think that's it for my presentation.
Anybody have any questions? Okay, public comment?
If you're online and wish to speak on this item, please raise your hand. Not seeing a raise hand, on public comment.
Okay, board? They're here for preliminary final. Can you go back to the elevations for me? Liz, do you have a note on the elevation stating that you're matching colors, materials, and details except for the color of the barn or the garage? I mean,
I'm not sure we have a general note that says that, but I think the material, keep going. If you go to the garage elevation down further into the set, on the material, like there's a little legend up in the top right. A lot of times we call out match existing or match, existing residents. So I think that's what we most likely did for that structure. I'm just not 100% sure, so we can check that now. Okay, we're almost there. Maybe a few more pages. There. Okay, so if you go to the top right there, a lot of times, I can't really see it, but that would be the location where we would call out, but it doesn't look like I could add a general note kind of at the bottom of that exterior finish material list to match the main house.
except for the difference in the body color, because that's the only difference except for the new ones, right?
Yes.
Okay, so could you, everywhere you're matching it, could you please just say color to match existing residents?
Mhm.
And then when you have a new color, for example, your hardy board siding on the garage.
Yeah.
Or the doors and windows and, that kind of stuff. Could you go ahead and just detail it there? The only thing I'm concerned about is, you have the details for the structures, right? Yeah, we saw those.
Yes.
Yeah, I think what you need is you just basically need the note, and the really critical one is, I don't know how to do it, because really what you want to say is, how do we handle the garage doors? Because that's not on the house. Because really what we're saying is we want the details to match, but she's got a lot of stuff that doesn't match. So we need to see the details for the garage doors and that kind of stuff. We're kind of splitting the baby here.
The details or the color of the doors. And the garage door installation and framing is.
Okay,
Pretty
so,
difficult. Pretty difficult, yeah.
yeah, so Liz, I think what we need to see, because usually what we can do is we can say to people, okay, just put on your thing that you're matching all colors, materials, and details. And then in that case, you don't have to worry about it. Now, I'm seeing a call out. Do we have that rafter detail, that 04 on A 9.1 in this set?
Yes.
I don't think we do. Can you go to 9.1? Okay. And then do you have the garage door in here? Because those are your windows.
It's 05. The window is 05.
Garage door detail, we might not have that in here.
Okay, so just add any of the details that you're missing that, that we would normally ask for. And then I think you can leave your your index, I don't think you need to mess with it, just if you want to, you can say this color matches the existing house where it does. But otherwise, I think I'd leave it just like it is and then keep your details like this, but make sure you have the door and you have the garage door, you know, your man door and your garage door. You've already got windows in here, I think. You've got your eaves. You basically got the detail sheet all together. And then I think, you know, come back final on consent and we can put this to bed, so.
Okay, yeah.
Okay. And then I'd like to make a motion for preliminary approval.
Also,
Needs to be not you two.
I'll second.
Okay, thank you. Sorry, I'm not picking on you. Everybody's here today. So, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, so, yeah, just return final on consent.
Okay, sounds good.
With-
Thank
with
you.
that information And, leave the information with the adjacent house and everything in the set.
Yes.
Don't pull anything out of this set, just add to it for us. Okay?
Understood. Yes.
Okay,
Sounds
thank
good.
you.
Thank you.
Lots of going on here.
keep talking.
I'm suspicious. Item number 3, 24 bar 134, Imerus, lump up solar PV and battery storage. And we have a bunch of people here for this.
Yes.
I think we also have some members of the public. If we do, were you able to get speaker slips?
No.
Okay, speaker slips.
We have the sticker slips right over here.
Right over here at this little door with some pens. Okay. So,
Randy,
yeah,
since this is a little bit different than normal, would you please spell out what our purview is here?
that's what I was just about to do
You're
when
so-
you derailed me. What we're gonna do here is we will, we'll hear from the applicant. They'll walk us through the project. And we'll go through all of the materials. Then I will ask the board if they have any questions before we actually do our deliberation. So there'll be some quick questions from the board possibly. Then we will call for public comment. I'll ask each of you who's here for public comment, and I think we have some people online as well. I'll ask you to keep it to about 3 minutes each. And if you could direct your comments toward the BAR's purview, that would be excellent. And I'll go over that right before I call public comment, so everybody will have it fresh in their mind what our purview is. And then we'll come back to the board for our comments. And at that point, we'll just be talking amongst ourselves. And then we will make our recommendations from there. You do have a planner assigned. Is this through the energy department?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, so we've dealt with these a couple of times before. So it's a little, sometimes it can be a little different because planners they're not used to coming to BAR. Energy projects don't normally come to us. So we'll be going through that. And is the planner here today?
Hi, yes, this is Katie. I'm here virtually.
Katie, do you have any questions or is there anything you'd like to say to introduce this project to us? Because it is a little bit out of the ordinary.
Sure, yeah. So I have worked on many development review projects. So I've been to the Board of Architectural Review a couple times. We're really focused for this project in terms of your guys' review, and I'm sure you're going to go over this, but the design and what, the visual impacts that we may or may not see. But in terms of the actual project description, it's pretty straightforward. And I know that Laurel Perez is there and she's going to give a good presentation.
Okay, perfect. Oh, there really isn't, I sound like a dragon, I'm not. We've got more moaning going on, like board members. Okay, boy, that knife hurt. Okay, so, let's go ahead,
Okay.
take it away, and I'm assuming, do you want,
Something went wrong. Please try again.
So,
That was appropriate.
can you do the PDF, or do you want the
If you don't
PowerPoint?
mind, Teresa, putting it back on that PowerPoint presentation.
There we go.
We'll start with that
Did
and
this
then we'll
get-
move into the
Yes.
plans. Yeah. Okay. Great, thank you. Good morning, everybody. I'm Laurel Perez with SEPS Land Use Consulting, and we're representing the project applicant Total Energies on this project. We call it the Emrys Lompoc Solar Photovoltaic and Battery Energy Storage Project. And as you heard, we're working with Katie Knoll in the Energy Division, processing this project through their permit review process. The Energy Division is going to be reviewing and approving this project through a land use permit, subject to CBAR. But what's different about this one is that they will be preparing an environmental impact report for the project. They've identified that it has the potential to result in significant impacts to visual resources, potentially looking at biology as well. And so we'll touch on that as we present our plans. So this is going to be a long review process. We've got many months ahead of us, and this is our first review, conceptual review with the CBAR. We're looking forward to receiving your feedback and your direction, and so that we can return for subsequent reviews while the Energy Division is processing the environmental analysis for this. Okay, so if you wouldn't mind flipping to the next slide, Teresa, that'd be great, thank you. The project is aligned, it's been designed to align with community and county and state objectives for reducing greenhouse GHG emissions. It is as I mentioned, a solar photovoltaic energy system with a combined battery storage system that would be located up at the existing substation on the Emrys property. As you may know, Emrys has been mining diatomaceous earth in the Lompoc foothill area since the late 1800s, and they're here with us today and can share a little bit more about what they do. The project would offset more than 50% of Emrys's annual electricity usage. And as I mentioned, is aligned with the climate action plan to reduce GHG emissions to 50% below the 2018 levels by the year 2030. The project would offset the equivalent of 460 million miles driven by a gas-powered car. And we're here because, we're very interested in engaging with your board, receiving the comments that you have on our concept plans. We recognize that there are people here and on Zoom, I understand, that have concerns about the visual impact, the impacts that this project may have to visual resources from Highway 1. So we're very dedicated in working with the community to try to address those questions and those concerns. With that, I would like to just mention those that are with me today in the hearing room, as well as those on Zoom that will be participating in the project presentation. We have Chris Aneros and Justin Phillips here from Emrys. Brian Mectree with Total, there you are. Eric Rutherford, who is the project civil engineer with the Wallace Group. And on Zoom, we have Chad Tavey with Total Energies, they're the applicant, along with Marissa Yaron and Denise Fan. And I understand that Chad will be doing a portion of the presentation. And so with that, I'd like to introduce Eric Rutherford, the civil engineer.
All right, thank you. So if we could flip to the next slide. Overview of the project. Okay, so here we are. This is a aerial image of focusing on the Emrys property. And the project can be considered in three main components. First, you have the PV area where the solar panels will be installed. That's the area bounded by yellow. Then there is a transmission line to carry the electricity to the substation where the energy will be injected into Imerys's distribution system. So the red line is what we call a GenTie line. It's about 2.2 miles long. And then it terminates there at an existing substation where we're going to be installing the switchgear and the batteries for the battery energy storage. So next slide, please. So the PV area, it's about 40 acres of panels. It's got a perimeter fire access road and perimeter chain link security fencing. The panels will be mounted on fixed tilt racking systems, which you can see an example of what that could look like in the upper photo there. The project will also include 4 what we call out on the plans as AC stations. These are going to be scattered through the site in 4 locations and consist of a series of inverters that are mounted on racks. And an example of that is the lower photo there. Those AC stations will also include the transformers that will bump up the voltage to the transmission voltage to get to the substation. So the project has been designed to avoid the jurisdictional drainage to the south and to the east, which you can see is that blue line there. However, it will have some impacts to sensitive species, which are detailed in the biological resource assessment. The project will also have impacts to the scenic highway corridor for Highway 1, which I'll touch on again here in a minute. But for the next slide, we're going to jump over to the substation. So this is an aerial image of the existing substation, and the bold lines represent what we're going to be adding to it. There's 2 Tesla Megapack battery energy storage containers that are going to be located there all within the existing substation fence. And then we've also got transformers and switchgear to connect it all together. And this will be completely outside the public view shed. So I won't spend a whole lot of time unless you have any questions about that, which we can get to when we review the plans. So I want to get back to the visual impacts. I know it's a big concern. So next slide, please. So recognizing that the project will have some impacts to the scenic corridor, we prepared a visual resources assessment, which includes some visual simulations. Those simulations aren't perfect, but they do convey the general aesthetic of what the panels could look like. So in this first one, this is a simulation traveling southbound out of Lompoc, and you can see through the existing trees what the panels may look like there. One thing I'll note is that the ground underneath the panels will be revegetated as part of the project. So this is, it won't look like the bare ground that you see here. The next slide, please. This next slide is one simulating traveling northbound on Highway 1, and this is along a portion of the site that would be more exposed due to the lack of existing trees. And so, again, keeping in mind that the ground will be revegetated, this is a portion of the project that we recognize will be, very important in the review process. We'd also like to mention that this part or this project will be within the last half mile of the 19-mile long scenic corridor, or the first half mile, depending on which way you're traveling. So there's still a lot more of that scenic corridor that's going to be preserved. And of course, the applicant's going to be happy to work with the county and review and discuss any sort of potential mitigations that will help those impacts. And with this, I'd like to hand it off to Chad Tatey, who's online. He's going to be giving a little bit more context on how this particular site was chosen for the project.
Thank you, Eric. Good morning, everyone. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yep.
All right, good. So I'll give you some context on the siting and background here. We started working with Imerys in 2020, and we really started with the goal of maximizing the value of this project with the most energy offset and minimal impact while maintaining a viable project. So while they do own a lot of land, as you can see here, there were certain limitations that we had to deal with. So in terms of reaching our goals, there's a very large load of this site on the order of about 53 million kilowatt hours a year. So we wanted to achieve some scale to provide value to Imerys. And in looking at the site, we would like to have brought this solar system as close to where it's used as possible, which would be where the utility meter sits. If you notice the red line there, there's a demarcation of the operational areas. So everything south of that line is the operational areas where Imerys is involved in mining and processing. So for multiple reasons, we weren't able to locate ground mounted solar there because of safety and operational impacts. So we did focus primarily with a ground mount because we could achieve the scale and value. However, if you don't mind, Eric, going to the next slide, we did want to look at all possible solutions of systems that could be away from the boundary. And we looked at carports and rooftops that are closer to the load at the facilities here. In all cases, there was structural concerns, operational, and just technical feasibility limits that prevented us from having viable solar as carports and rooftops here. So because of ground mounts not being viable within the operational area, and in the operational area not having the ability to do ground or roof and carports, we looked north above in the non-operational area. So within that area was our focus. If you don't mind going to the next slide there, Eric. Thank you. So in this area, we started to look for a number of things. So we had to take into account any obstructions or encumbrances of the site that was already in place. We took into account the public impact of a system like this, and then the overall site conditions, the topography, and the ability to achieve some contiguous scale. Thinking about the topography was a major concern for this project. As you see here, we have red, which is off limits. That's a slope that's far too high. The yellow and the orange were discouraged and challenging from a technical standpoint. So we were primarily focused on the green, the lower slope areas, which resulted in the site area being where it's located here. So we went through a lot of effort, consideration, due diligence, and many site visits and vendors to come out and evaluate different options and have lands on this being the most viable location for the array. With that, I'll hand it back over to you, Eric.
Okay, thanks, Dan. I'd like to hand off to Laurel and to talk about some of the community outreach that has already taken place.
Yeah, if you could go to the next slide, please. Thank you. So we've contacted, Imerys actually has contacted the city of Lompoc. And I understand that there was a recent presentation provided to stakeholder groups in the city. We've also offered to present the project to City Planning Commission, City Council. We're waiting to hear response on that. Just given the proximity of the project to the city's boundary, we know that there'll be interest there. We've had some communications with Community Environmental Council who are interested in meeting and hearing more about the project. We're waiting to hear back from them on a meeting date that works for them. Of course, there's been outreach to the tribal contacts of the various Native American tribes to let them know about the project. They are in communication with our archaeologist on this project. We've had meetings with County Fire Department to make sure that the project is designed to meet the County Fire Department requirements, as well as Caltrans. As you can imagine, there's a access from Highway 1 off the Caltrans right-of-way that serves the project site. There's actually an existing gate on Highway 1 that accesses the site that would be utilized. The gate itself would be replaced with something newer, but there's actually a pull-out and a shoulder there on Highway 1 as you're going southbound in order to access the site, and that would be utilized. This is an unmanned facility, so the type of access that would be received or experienced during operations would just be for regular routine operations and maintenance. After construction is completed, that access would be very limited. And then finally—
Please don't close the door all the way. Oh, no. Thank you.
And then, of course, the county has provided, they've sent out their standard notification to neighbors. But we also are aware that people are interested in this. And, Imerys is not only committed to their role in helping the county achieve their renewable energy goals and objectives, but also working with the neighbors to try to address concerns about visual resource protection. So with that, I'd like to introduce Kristen Harris of Emrys, and if you can move to the next slide.
Yeah, so first I want to review some of Emrys's sustainability goals. Emrys is an international mining company, and we have committed, similar to the county, to reduce our carbon emissions. Our goals are 42% reduction of carbon emissions by 2030. So that's worldwide, all of Emrys. This project goes a long way towards meeting the goals that we have here in North America for our facilities here in North America. We have been operating this facility for a very long time, over a century. Some different owners throughout the years. We've been part of Emrys now, I think about 20 years. But for the community outreach, I'm going to introduce Justin Phillips, who is our site manager for the mining facility there in Lompoc. Justin?
Morning, everyone. Excuse me. So, given the long history, given the size and scope of what we do, we are a major employer at Lompoc. Currently, there's about 217 Emrys employees on site, with over 50% of those living in Lompoc. So for us, it's extremely important to give back to the community, to be good neighbors. So we have some key partners and some key focus groups that we've been working with over the last 5 to 7 years, as far as what we're really trying to do and help in there. Highlighted projects, the community track, we were a sponsor donor for that, to upgrade at the high school there, at the Lompoc High School. We partner, one of our biggest partners is the YMCA. With them, we're doing the both monetary and providing support and allowing people to volunteer for their child care program. Focusing on feeding the hungry through the food bank and Feeding America. We have a group of usually 6 to 8 volunteers that go down to the Empty Bowls fundraiser that happens every year in Lompoc, along with financial contribution there. Highlighting our partnership with local government and service districts, we are the title sponsor for the Lompoc Police Car Show. The Lompoc Valley Community Hospital, we are recently engaged with them in sponsorship, and the Lompoc Rotary. We do really want to reach out to the groups that are most vulnerable. So we have started sponsoring through the Lompoc. It's called the Dirt Bags. It's a mountain biking group. It's big in Lompoc, the Village Dirt Bags, and sponsoring their Bikes for Kids program. So for deserving kids, we donate about 30 to 40 bikes every Christmas, so the kids can get a bike for Christmas. Also with Angels Foster Care. This is something that we've been a title sponsor for, a high-level sponsor for 2 years now, and really trying to commit to help those that are most vulnerable. Foster kids really are kind of some of the most critical for us. They're in a bad situation. They need help. They didn't ask to be there. So yeah, with that.
Yeah, I think so that concludes our overview presentation. I'd like to invite, before we can go through the plans or answer any questions you may have at this point.
Anybody on the board have any questions?
Yeah, I do. So Eric, what triggered the EIR exactly? I see there's a lot of grading, but what else was?
I think it was the concern over impacts to visual resources and biological resources.
And the bio is what?
Some sensitive plants, I think mostly. There's some sensitive animals, but I think where those impacts are to be mitigated. But I think just the amount that's there is what triggered the EIR now, or if we have any additional.
Yeah, I mean, and it might be helpful, Teresa, if you could move to the plan set and go to the site plan, which is sheet, let's see. go down a couple, there's our slope map that we're working with. I think it's C3. There you go. I think that's.
Okay,
is it
so
Patchen? Yeah.
they may have, these might be the resubmitted plans.
That's fine.
Which they have.
There you go, right there. So for bioresources, you'll see the blue line to the left of the solar array site. That's a blue line, you know, drainage. And one of the things that the county is gonna be analyzing is that there's sufficient buffer. Obviously, it's being avoided with the site layout, but making sure there's sufficient buffer there from that resource. There are willows and other riparian plant species within that corridor. And then the areas that are identified in green are wetland areas. So similarly, while they've been avoided, you know, there's an interest in studying the adequacy of the buffer from the project grading and siting to those resources. So while, you know, the county they haven't identified what level of impact biological resources lies within, whether it's class 1 or class 2, and most likely can be mitigated with restoration and enhancement elsewhere on site. It's I believe the potential impact of visual resources, views from the scenic highway that is driving the determination to do an EIR for this project.
And right now, is it used for anything? Is it grazing?
It's grazing. It's utilized, this is a grazing site. There are cattle troughs, you know, watering troughs out there. You'll see evidence of grazing on the property. It's predominantly non-native grasses in this area, with the exception of the riparian vegetation within those corridors that I pointed out. We should also point out, if this wasn't already clear on the visual simulations, that there's quite a mature and extensive line of large eucalyptus trees along a good portion of the frontage of this site, closer to the north. And then there are gaps in that, you know, that could be opportunity areas for screening, for additional vegetative screening. You know, having worked on the Cuyama Solar Project and other solar projects in the county of Santa Barbara, I do have the experience working with the BAR that, you know, this is a kind of a weird project for you all to be reviewing, but I think the areas of focus would be vegetative screening, enhancing that in order to try to protect the visual, you know, the vista that's provided from Highway 1, and looking at areas to help address the visual impacts of this project.
And could you go back to that photo simulation?
And that'll be at the PowerPoint presentation.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
It's also included in the,
Is
It's in
it
the
the,
package.
you
It's
know
in the
that
package.
stretch of road, Justin is probably the one to answer this. You know how you're driving towards Lompoc, and right before you get to that kind of big turn, the big turn that's kind of tricky, that everyone, there's a lot of
Where it kind of
accidents.
goes right in the gap with the last little mountains, right?
And then
before
you
Cass.
see Home Depot right after that, and there's houses right there. So is it that stretch of land before you get to that curve, or is it?
Just right before you get to that kind of tricky curve and where the hills start up.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
right in there, right?
Right there, just barely out of
Okay.
Santa Rosa Road would turn
Yeah,
off would be
yeah.
immediate to the right.
Uh-huh.
And the large Lompoc stone quarry.
Mhm.
So if you were to look immediately across from this, you can see the large stone
Yeah,
quarry from
okay.
Lompoc stone on the right-hand side if you're northbound.
And it's been grazed for a century or something, hasn't it, or, yeah?
Historically, if we go back historically, there were stables there. That was some of the site's original.
There's
Aren't afraid to like look
Yeah.
at me. Historically, going back into the late 1800s to 1920s, there were historical mule facilities there because they hauled everything from the mine to the original processing facility, which is where JM Park is now in Lompoc.
Okay.
They hauled it there via mule team. So some of the historical was that. It moved into what they called the JM Riding Club in the 1950s. And I believe that extended into the late 90s, that there were some corrals. And then
This is wandering a little far afield.
No, it's important for me. Thanks.
And then within the last, I would say 20-ish years, it has just been a grazing lease at this point. That gate that is being spoken of, it's very prominent on the left. That's the road that Baywa regraded to access their power lines, the substation that is on the very southern boundary of Long.
Okay.
Right.
Thanks, Justin.
Which is like right in here, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, understood.
And you can see Santa Rosa Road coming off here, because this is the, can you point to where the road is coming off?
Is it this one?
No,
No,
that's San
not.
Bernardino. No, that's one.
It's actually right where the area where it says PV area, where the arrow.
That's what I
indicates.
thought. It's right on top of the
Yes,
Santa
that
Rosa
would
Road
be
turnoff.
Santa Rosa Road, you
Yeah.
can see the stone quarry up there on the right.
Yep. Okay. All right. Any other questions?
Yeah.
Let's go for it.
How many trees are proposed to be removed?
Yeah.
I noticed the eucalyptus stands.
Yeah, good question. So there are going to be some eucalyptus trees removed as part of the project.
Do you have a plan showing the vegetation existing and proposed to be removed?
I do in the resubmitted plan set, which I think you did have. I do have a tree removal plan. It's sheet C3 in the plans, the Emerald Solar preliminary plans. Is that, what's the file name? Is it 617? So that's the old plan set. So you may not have we recently resubmitted the plans, which.
I think she has them.
Okay.
What page was it?
It's not in this PDF. This is the old plan set. We've since revised and resubmitted it. So it's a different.
This
file.
is what we have, and then we have the solar visual assessment, which is the visual
Yes.
assessment pulled
Yeah.
out of
Okay.
that's the report.
So if this is the only set of drawings, plans you have, then it's not gonna be in here, but the resubmitted set does include a tree removal plan. There are going to be some eucalyptus trees, removed almost central to the PV area where you see the perimeter access road that has an intersection with a road going straight up and down on the plan. There's like a central access road.
Yeah.
Right,
Oh, right here.
sort
Yep.
sort of in the middle, yeah, there's some existing eucalyptus trees there that will need to be removed. And that's actually something that we need to add to our tree removal plan in the resubmitted drawings, because we just realized that was missing. So outside of those, there are a couple eucalyptus trees that need to be removed along the Gentai route. So that the hilltop, where one of the power poles needs to go. And then there also may need to be some tree trimming, potentially removals, but most likely tree trimming down by the substation where the power lines cross the drainage and start going up the hill. We were looking at the Gentai path and figured there might need to be some stuff there, but mostly along the Gentai and down there in the PD.
They have to be removed because they're too tall, creating shadows, or is it something that they're continuing for road access?
They're in the way of either road access or where the power pole needs to go, or in this case, yeah, actually where the road needs to go here, or the panels.
But it's not a
It's not a
shadow.
sheet. Okay. It's just there in.
Okay, so, if you look here, I have a quick question. Where you say the existing PG&E transmission line, your line is coming off and joining that corridor for the Gentai?
It's traveling in parallel to it. It's not actually connecting to those PG.
I got it, it's not on the same pole.
Right, yeah.
Right, so
But
it's your different set of infrastructure that will be owned by you guys, I got it.
Yep.
Where does it tie in to that path?
It ties in, so the Gentai route will head, so there's the pink area, which is the PV area. So at the southwest tip of that, there's going to be power poles that start, and they'll head.
Right here.
Yeah, essentially they're gonna head west until they
Right, it's
run
gonna
into
kinda come
that.
over
PG.
here or
Yeah,
in here.
I think more to
Over
the,
there.
yeah, more to the south.
Okay, there is a Gentile route. Can you
Yeah.
flip to in that's in the PowerPoint. You have the PDF over there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So zoom out a little bit, and I think it's up.
If you go to the drawings, I do have a gem type,
I think the third slide has the.
Yeah, the third slide maybe?
For this, for this one.
Yeah, there it is. Okay, so, so you're showing it joining further across. It's kind of going up and across the hill. Okay. Okay.
Yeah, so where the
So,
red
so
line.
roughly about here is
Correct.
where it's
That's where it
joining.
joins up with the
Okay.
PG&E one.
And then the rest is an existing utility pole corridor.
I have a question about the existing riparian corridors. Because it's been grazed for so many years, are the corridors in fairly good shape? Or are they kind of degraded?
Feedback from our biologists is that they're lower quality, riparian areas.
So would restoration, bringing them to a higher level of diversity and quality be part of this program?
Potentially, I think we're interested in talking about potential mitigations for the project. Yeah.
Okay, and just in your preliminary studies, have, looking at visual mitigation along the scenic corridor, is that possible with potential shading impacts? Or is there plenty of room to do both?
If the mitigation were something like planting trees for screening, I don't anticipate that providing a large shading issue. I think they're far enough away.
Okay.
That it wouldn't present a problem.
That's all I have.
Does any current power infrastructure on the property get decommissioned because of this? Or is everything just taken from PG&E right now?
Everything comes from PG&E right now, so this is going to offset PG&E's.
Got it. Has anyone studied agrivoltaics as a potential for this project?
What was that?
Agrivoltaics,
Not
throwing
for,
stuff under the.
not for this project, but our company is involved on several other projects in Illinois. We are familiar with
We don't know what that is.
the agrivoltaics.
Farm underneath
Oh.
The combination of agriculture and
Farm,
photovoltaics.
oh.
A lot of times the sheep grazing is one of the main methods for achieving both.
Which the trade-off, you have to do it higher.
Right, yeah, you have to raise my.
But
Gets higher then.
And then my last question is, how are the battery energy storage areas determined? Is that purely access? Has there been a thought given as to the visual impact of those?
As far as where they're being located.
Where they're sited, yeah.
I think it's just for simplicity of interconnection and where there's space. We want, because of the nature of them being at the substation where the power is gonna be used, it makes just sense.
Okay.
And the substation is central to the Emrys property, and you cannot see the substation from offsite anywhere. Yeah.
Okay, and the really last question, that diagram of the operational plant and the things you nixed from the conversation. Ground mount is off the table up there because of slopes.
Ground mount is off the table in primarily the southern half of the whole property because it's an operational area, so that, you know, plans for potential future mining. So within that southern area, the only considerations were for carport, you know, mounted PV or roof mounted PV, but those didn't pan out from logistical reasons or structural difficulties.
Thank you.
They kind of zip through it on the PowerPoint, but, they do have a slide there, that's your station on site. Go ahead and find this one here. There it is.
Yeah.
And I think your substation, isn't the substation like?
Substation isn't really
Up here?
in view on
Yes,
this,
yeah.
it's to the, yeah, north.
It's just right there.
Yeah, the view is correct.
But this was, you want to speak to this? This was one of my questions, so.
Yeah, this slide was intended to show areas that were considered for either rooftop or carport solar. And so this highlights the various opportunities that were looked at for that type of solar, but it didn't pan out.
Okay.
Yeah, typically solar on rooftop is on more robust roofs. These roofs are lighter gauge, more industrial roofs, and they're not suitable for adding more weight to them like you would on Walmart. Big box stores, like more structural strength to them.
My question was actually more about the carport, because I would think that providing shade for what I'm assuming are your employees and that kind of thing would have been nice on a site that is fairly exposed.
But it's not really visited by people, that's what you.
No, I said employees.
No, by employees.
If I could
Yeah,
make
sure,
one
yeah.
other slight comment.
Yep.
This illustrates, if you would, the site, if you've never been there, exists in a pretty tight bowl.
Yep.
And so when you made the comment about the shading from the trees, most of these rooftops only spend a few hours out of every day.
I understand about the rooftops, the existing, but I was asking about
The
the carport.
carport as well, ma'am. Those areas during the middle of the day for a few hours, and in the summer, it stays sunny. But a lot of those areas end up covered up, not prime sunlight.
That was my question.
It's more of an economical reason. I mean, that is what's out of there. It's smaller, it's not enough.
I got it.
You got it.
Fuck.
Just add a couple more little questions. I was involved in a thing in New York with a proposed battery storage project. And it ended up, because it was in a national forest, getting denied because of fire issues. And I just wondered, sort of given where the site is, like, how this is out of our purview, but this, how potential fires might be dealt with. And then secondly, just another, because I have solar on my house and we're always having to clean the panels. And Lompoc is a, notoriously dusty place. I'm not blaming you guys, but just how do you keep your panels?
A lot of people would blame you.
How do you, well, I lived on a ranch with diatomaceous earth, so.
Yeah.
But it's how you keep those panels clean in Lompoc to operate at maximum efficiency. Like, if you have a special way, I'd like to know it for my own house, but that's all I have.
Yeah, I can answer the question about the fire concern. It is located within our industrial facility. We do have a on-site fire water system. So, and also inside that, where it's located inside that substation is a gravel surface, impervious surface. We actually, here this past year, we cut some eucalyptus and some different bushes down in surrounding that substation area. Because we have our power lines that run right through there as well. So, but yeah, so we have an on-site firefighting system. Regarding the cleaning, I think that's a Total question.
Yeah, so for cleaning panels, in this area, we were looking to clean them at least once a year. And there's a whole industry of solar panel cleaning folks. They'll bring water, they'll bring deionized water, they have all the tools, they even have robots that will hook on and sweep across and brush them off. So we're looking to clean the panels once a year, and that's about it. It does rain, I hear in California sometimes, it has in the last couple of years, but If it doesn't rain like it's forecasted, then we may clean them twice a year, depending on how dirty they get. So we monitor how dirty they get, and when they get to a point where it makes more sense to clean them than to just let them sit there, then we'll roll the crew out and get them cleaned.
If you go up one slide. Yeah, see, it says various production and office buildings. That was the slide we were just looking at, and then Imerys main utility meter, that's your substation location, so you can see where it's located. Okay, any other questions?
No.
All right, okay, so we're gonna go to public comment. What I'll do is, I'll ask each speaker to come on up to the podium if you're here in person, if not, online. We'll go ahead and, I'll give you about 3 minutes, and, I'll ask you to please address the board, regarding our purview. It is your 3 minutes. You can talk whatever you want, but if you address us, about your concerns and that's within our purview, it helps us a lot. And our questions may have led you to believe that we have a much wider purview than we actually do. We're, this is the first time anybody's seen this. It is, as they mentioned before, it is gonna go before a whole host of various different review agencies. I'm sure it'll go to the planning commission and other bodies as it moves forward and other decision makers. But what we're looking at right now are, and the reason it's here is mostly because the visual resource of the quality of the Highway 1. So what we're really looking at is structures. We're looking at, their site circulation and site planning. We're looking at somewhat with grading and how it dovetails in with some findings that aren't ours to make. But that's really what we're looking at. We're not looking at the viability of the site. We're not actually looking at riparian and some of those other things. We're looking at, the visual, either mitigations or impacts that this would have in that corridor. So that's mostly what we're looking at. And so with that, if you'd like to come up, board, you want to give me your slip? Just hand it to Denise. And, Sally Isaacson.
Right. Thank you. Appreciate you hearing me. I wrote a thing, but before I read it, I'm going to point out in the botanical business, it does mention the black flowered figwort, which is a very much protected species. And as I drive that road a lot, Highway 1, I live on Highway 1, I know that in the last few years, there have been red-tailed hawks actually nesting in those eucalyptus trees. The trees have been there for a long time, the hawks have been there for a long time, and they fly from those trees to a gate and back again, and I believe they actually have viable nests quite often in those trees, so cutting those trees could be a problem. I also live several miles towards Las Cruces, and I have had 4 cars literally jump over my fence, roll over, and have to be towed out by tow trucks. And so I know firsthand that it's a very, very dangerous highway. So those are just a few extra points I was thinking about as I sat there. I didn't say good morning to everybody. Good morning, if it's not afternoon. In reference to the Imerys project, I am speaking on behalf of myself and other residents who live along Scenic Highway 1 between 101 and Lompoc. And we were not notified. And in fact, the only reason I know about this is a neighbor said, hey, did you read the sign on that old gate under those eucalyptus trees? And so I drove my truck down and I turned around and I checked out the sign, took a photo, and start, hey, I better kind of do some research here. Anyway, according to an article in the Logbook Record dated May 17th, 2021, Highway 1 between US 101 and Logbook is used by about 8,000 motorists each day, and that was 3 years ago. This busy road wends its way through beautiful rural countryside. And I've lived along this highway for 50 years, and my neighbors and I greatly value the pristine and beautiful nature of this rural route. This stretch of road is one of only 2 designated scenic highways in Santa Barbara County, and as yet it is free of unsightly development along its entire length. So we only have 2 scenic highways. And from the Scenic Highway Guidelines, Appendix A, Section 263.2, it notes Route 1 from Route 101 at Las Cruces to Route 246 near Logbook is a designated state scenic highway, so it's not local, it's state. But I believe the county appreciates the fact we have scenic highways because we do attract tourists, etc. Emery's, the multinational company that mines diatomaceous earth locally, owns 2,317 acres that lie between Highway 1, just south of Logbook, and Miguelito Canyon Road. And if you don't know that these, you probably all know this countryside very well, but Highway 1 is quite geographically separated from Miguelito Canyon Road. And Johns Manville and other operators of this diatomaceous earth outfit have basically mucked up a lot of areas around Miguelito Canyon Road. They have yet to muck up Highway 1. I'm Irish, so muck is a big thing there.
Ma'am?
Yes.
You're past your 3 minutes, so if you could kind of wrap up what you've got, that'd be great.
Okay. We are very concerned about violation of the scenic highway guidelines. And Caltrans, from the guidelines again, is authorized by statute to revoke an official scenic highway designation if it determines that the corridor protection plan or the scenic quality of the corridor is no longer in compliance. Non-compliance for scenic quality is defined as a route or route segment that has been significantly degraded due to visual intrusions. Please consider, board, that Emery's owns over 2,000 acres, much of which is beyond the viewshed of Scenic Highway 1. And I hope that you will agree that Emery's must find a different place on their large property to locate these structures so that they do not impact the scenic highway. Thank you.
I suggest that you get with Katie Knoll and make sure that you're added to the notification list. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. I don't know if you want a copy of this.
Deming Isaacson.
Yes, I was born and raised basically on this highway, and we've had a ranch for the last 85 years on Highway 1, and so I know the property visually. And quickly, to Popcan, any other landscape architect here, there is a row of eucalyptus trees and maybe perhaps other types along the existing highway. And I would like to see those removed, even with the red tails. And the reason being is that one of the big problems in this county is the way trees have been planted in rows. And it's not natural, it's not a native feature. And if you are attuned to this and you see it, you say, aha, man has interceded and created his own statement here with native trees or trees. So think of clustering native trees instead of oak trees, or instead of eucalyptus trees, excuse me. And leave those two slides there for a second. So I don't mind, the row of trees it's just simply gonna wall off your project. And I don't think, there's no walling off on Highway 1 anywhere. So don't create a man-made sort of screen for something that may be for this project. The other thing is the power line that may go over the hill to this power station, the existing power station. I would love to see that as low as possible, because that's gonna be a skyline issue to me. The other feature is I'd love to see I know you can't, you have chosen not to build to the north of the existing facility. And I'd like you to just sort of restudy that. If you have that opportunity, I know you said that it would be for future excavation. Is that correct? Right. So just restudy that a little bit. And to mitigate the impact, I would love to see the perimeter line of collectors just simply ratcheted down a little bit visually from the upper elevations. And lastly, this is something that's sort of interesting. These trees have really screened out something that was really very attractive for years. And there's a frog on this elevation here that you can't see, but my mother saw it for years and notified all of us. And if you look very carefully from the highway, right about where the camera is taken, you will see two sort of crescent-shaped sections of white earth that look exactly like frog eyes. And so look for that. In any case, I appreciate you looking for some of the issues that I brought up. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Evans.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So board. I actually, before we come to the board, Katie, could you talk to us a little bit about the process? You may have been to the BAR fairly recently with several projects, but it's been a while since we've reviewed one with these kinds of
Sure. So this one is a little bit unique. It is technically a ministerial permit, meaning that we receive the submittal, we do our analysis, make sure that it complies with our standards, we do environmental review, and then the decision maker is actually the director. So it doesn't go to planning commission. But again, with the uniqueness of this site, we know that we're going to have to prepare an EIR. So basically the process is we've received a submittal. It's technically still under review in terms of there are a couple outstanding questions. We're having like the bio report peer reviewed and kind of back and forth until we kind of have a full application that we can move forward with an EIR for. So we're taking this to you guys as part of the normal process. You know, we'll get your comments, all the public's concerns, and then we kind of wrap that up into the environmental impact report review. So your comments will be included. There'll be more opportunities for public comment through the EIR process. But ultimately the decision maker will be the director, and that specifically will not have a public hearing for it.
Okay. All right. Oh, you're ready? Okay, Chris.
Personally, I'd like to see a lot more photo sims of what the location looks like, at least 10 more photographs of
Oh,
every possible.
We have one more public comment.
Oh, sorry, whoa. Chad.
Yeah, so we have Chad, you have your hand raised,
Oh, that's not.
He was
No, I think-
Okay, okay.
I just wanna make sure.
Sorry, I can unraise my hand. It was just from earlier. Thank you, sorry.
Yeah, just wanna
And
make sure
then,
there weren't others in the.
and Marissa is
She's from
also.
the.
She's also.
She's also.
Okay, so we have no online, sorry.
Oh, no, I get it. So a lot more photo sims of the entire area. I am sort of familiar with this, but I'd like to see what it looks like from the road, drone, et cetera, every possible angle. And perhaps what some sycamores or native trees might look like instead of the eucalyptus, because those are obviously non-native species. And perhaps a way to, not to block the corridor, but to incorporate it into a more beautiful looking drive.
Yeah.
I don't know what the word is.
I like the idea of clustering rather than a straight line.
Well, I need to just concentrate on these guys. No more conversation, please.
So yes, that's
We will never get out of here.
photo
I get
sims,
grumpy.
photo sims and trees. What that looks like, please.
Okay. I'm just gonna jump in, and throw a couple of things out, and then, the rest of the board can kind of jump in with hopefully all the things I missed. So the first thing, when I looked at this is, we're gonna have to go out there. Absolutely, you're gonna have to go out there. Photo sims are great, but it's a snapshot and you don't get, what's behind you. You don't get what came before you on the road. You don't get what's coming after you on the road. And all of that, for me at least, affects the quality of the views, because as a driver or a passenger, it changes what I'm looking at. So understanding that whole context, I think that's gonna be really critical for me. The second thing is, we really need, and I appreciate that you've probably submitted you have said that you submitted some other drawings with further information. And I think as you move forward with the bio reports and various other things, you're really gonna get deep into the vegetation, what's there, what exactly is coming out, what kind of approach are you gonna take? Are you gonna try and really highlight the site by a whole bunch of screening? What are you gonna do? What's your approach gonna be? I think that, you need to come back to, you need to keep in mind the native palette. You need to keep in mind the history of the site. This has been grazed. And you need to keep in mind the context. So I'm really excited about seeing what you bring in and how you respond to all of that. Because I think it's gonna have to be very nuanced and very balanced to really kind of ground everything. I have a very big concern about the poles and going up and over, and I really, really urge you at this point to consider undergrounding that portion of the line until you get over to where the utility tie-in is, because you've already got poles there, makes sense to do that. But if you could underground it, that just totally takes that off the table visually, and as I think for me would go a long way towards eliminating that as a concern. I don't know what's between in that route. I don't know if you've got a biological issue or anything like that, but you're gonna have to deal with that whether it's on a pole or underground. So that's just a big suggestion from me. If you're gonna do any of the restoration, and it could be very nice to look at doing some restoration. I think it'd be really good to see that along with that existing vegetation and what you're doing as far as any kind of planting that you're doing, because those are gonna tie in together. That restoration is gonna impact how you do it, and of course, you're gonna wanna keep away from things like straight lines and those kinds of things. I have a concern on the, you've got that road that goes all the way around it. I'm really concerned about the chain link fence and how you're secure. I understand you have to secure the society. I want some more information. It's not that I object to chain link per se, But I think there could be some more agrarian. So it'll be interesting to see how you're gonna execute your fencing. So I'm really interested in seeing what form the fencing takes and how that integrates with the rural context of the site. The other thing is, it looks like, and I'm just reading this at this plan, I know you haven't secured everything down. Please don't put a V ditch all the way along that bottom side to protect the riparian area. And I know you gotta keep your flow coming off that site. You gotta integrate that with that blue line stream, but please, please, please don't put an engineered structure like that over there. I really appreciate the fact that the proposal is not to have this kind of DG looking ground in the soil, and that you're going to be replacing kind of existing vegetation. This is a quandary, so it'll be interesting to see whether you go with something that's more pasture and what's been there, and you're responding to the context as the site exists now, or if you're gonna carry your restoration efforts through there. So it'll be really interesting to see which way you go with that. And that'll go a long way towards the reflectivity. I read the visual impact report that was included in your submittal. And I understand that, you know, those are photovoltaic cells. Any photons that are not captured and turned into energy, that's a missed opportunity, and I understand that, but I still have some concerns about glare and reflectivity, especially for the frames and the materials, if not the cells, you know, the actual solar collection surface itself. So I would like some more information on how you're dealing with that, and what the intent and what you see those angles as being. You know, I mean, I'm not sure that they would ever be, you know, shot onto the road, but still, I'd like some more information on that. I looked at the project site alternatives analysis, where you tag, it's this one. Come up with that one, yep. It's paged. I'm not sure exactly where it is. I think it's after that. Yep, there you go. I found this really difficult to read. Your red, orange, yellow, and green, they're just kind of turned in a little, it's like your actual, the image, the overlays got faded out. I do appreciate that you've got it in the non-operational area and we're looking at all of it. It would just be interesting because, like, right there's that big green swath that looks like it would be ideal, but I'm assuming there's somewhat of the riparian areas running through there and some other things. So I'd like a little bit more context that shows, you know, how some of those, you know, why they're not sites. I understand, we look at what's presented to us, we're evaluating only the site that you're presenting to us, but I think it might help me to understand why this one was, if you can show me a little bit more information about what was excluded. I think that's mostly it for me. Anybody else have anything?
I do.
Please.
Okay, so I find it hard to conceive why you were considering putting rooftop panels in buildings when you're talking about 50 acres of modules. So there's a disconnect there between maybe a couple acres on the rooftops, but you're proposing 50 acres of panels on the opposite side of the site. So I'm wondering if there isn't some, is there an opportunity to split panels into maybe more than one area? That you didn't have to have 50 acres right on Highway 1 of panels when you could possibly put some in other areas of your 2,300 acres. So 50 acres is 2% of your site, but your depiction there of the proposed PV array area is not exactly accurate. That's more than 2% of your
This is just the northern part. This is. it's not-
non-operational area.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's the,
It's just a little deceiving.
there,
Okay.
it's this one. See,
50
there's that non-operational area up there.
Right, so that's 50 acres, 2% of your entire property.
Right.
Yeah.
Basically, I think my question is, can you split the PV area into 2 or maybe 3 different locations, since you're connecting them into the existing PG&E transmission line anyway? So,
Okay.
sure, yeah, I think that's basically my question.
Okay, anything else?
I like that. It sounds, instead of the big monoculture
Yeah.
of panels.
Well, let me just expound upon that a little bit. So you don't want to put it up on the flats on top of the mountain, because you want to use that for future excavation. So maybe you can answer, how many acres do you excavate every year? And what's the life of this property if you took some of that area and made it into a PV area, and gave up some of the future operational portions of the mine? There's gotta be obviously you're doing this for an economic reason, so if you're only using 50%, or you're only gaining back 50% of your PG&E outlet or output every year, is that worth building 50 acres of PV panels compared to giving up some of your operational area? Just, I don't know, it's kind of a disconnect for me, because it's gonna cost a fortune to build all these PV panels, but what's your electricity bill that you're saving every year? I don't see the connection there personally.
Just, thinking about that, I wonder if there's any areas of abandoned mining that could be reconsidered. But I just wanted to point out too, that is like the gateway to Lompoc. You kind of go through the stretch that to me was this really beautiful road, and then you kind of get to this place right before that turn, and it's not, right now it looks very kind of a degraded environment. So when you're looking at the planting, this gentleman I appreciated his comment that, can you kind of not put the panels on the highest kind of knoll, and maybe dissipate them a little bit, and what Lowell's talking about is kind of scatter them throughout the site a little bit. And then reintroduce some plant material, but just to remember, that is, if you could enhance that gateway experience of traveling into Lompoc. Right now, it could use it. So you'd actually enhance that. If you can enhance the Highway 1 visual experience, especially right there, would be useful.
Like comment, like a jump in. I think whether the ground's held on those 50 acres or whether another site is studied, I think the most helpful thing in my mind for us moving forward would be to zoom in the microscope on the constraints to help understand whether it's that 50 acres or different 50 acres. Now that we've had this discussion about the operational, non-operational, yada, yada, it'd be really helpful to just zoom in a little and see a plan that has the slopes, the optimal solar situation, the protective riparian areas, trees, scenic highways, all in one place on whatever you're actually choosing to hone in on. Because I understand this is unnecessary for the context of the project and the history of the operations and all of that, but I think the next layer is really understanding the why at the 50 acre level instead of the 2,000 acre level, and it would help the board, the community, and everybody interface and have this dialogue more.
I'll just
sort of chime in on that and support it, that I think, yeah, that missing component is kind of a critical site analysis that really, and maybe it's, you know, part of those things that we haven't seen yet, that you're, I mean, because this is an iterative process, but that would really help us understand and build a context for all of this. And I do agree with Bethany. Well, it's a corridor, and we have to look at it as a visual corridor, and these snapshots just don't do anything. I think one perfect example of something that went awry in terms of mitigation is a little greenhouse project that became a cannabis project on 101 going to Los Alamos. And, you know, you're driving along in the vineyards and grazing land, and all of a sudden there's this block of landscape that we approved. And it's a bunch of olive trees and some grapes, and then they're all jammed in an effort to screen a greenhouse project. And it's frankly, and in terms of the context of, and this wonderful agrarian corridor, it's an eyesore. It did not work. It failed miserably. And
it's also similar to this in that it's very close to a more urban kind of context.
Yeah.
So it's kind of the gateway there at the edge of.
And then the other thing that, you know, we've been struggling with were the cannabis projects on Santa Rosa Road with all of their chain link fence and security gates and lights. And so put a hedge around the fence. And so now we have these hedges with sort of the top, you know, the scary part of the chain link, the razor wire, or whatever it is up there sticking out. And so I think we have to really proceed cautiously with this and look at this, because it is a really important historic scenic corridor. Oh, and also I have to disclose that Sally Isaacson did call me because she, you know, just found out, you know, she found out about this project, and she said, what should I do? And I said, well, you have to come to the BAR. So that was our discussion. That's it.
Nothing, this
Okay.
Good.
We're all good? Okay, so lots, I realize this is a lot to kind of propound and put on, it sounds like we're like, oh, you need this, you need this. There's a lot to be done here, and I know you're still in the process with a lot of things, and a lot of the information we're asking is going to come out of it. Although I think specific to this board, I think the real concentration is how this site was chosen and what narrows it down and what supports that choice. And I think all that environmental information that Andrew was talking about, that's really going to help us. And that's what I was kind of trying to get a hold of. And then I think going out and actually looking at the site and everything. And so I think it's going to be a little bit of a juggle for when we decide to do that. And I think there's a good opportunity for us to interact through Katie, and she can confer with me. I'm available. So, you know, we can kind of see where it makes the most sense, you know, as far as the production of the EIR and your bio report and all the ARC report and everything else you've got going on. So I think there's going to be a lot of interactions.
Well, thank you, board members, very much, and to the public as well. We really appreciate your comments. This is all very helpful to us at this very early stage of project review, so we will stay in touch. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. I think it's, we're about ready for you, Nicole. I'm gonna ask for a quick break. because I've finished my tumbler of tea. So,
Wouldn't the meeting be finished if we did this right now?
Yeah.
yeah, I'm gonna go. Nicole, or, you wanna go ahead and unmute yourself and get your shared screen and everything set up, and we'll come right back, okay? There we go. Can you hear us, Nicole?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, we
Yes.
can. All right.
We're Nicole.
So this is item number 1. We changed that number. I said that at first, but, what I asked them to do was to return with, any missing, details. And if they wanted to, they could add on, her color board and her elevations and all that, where well, I guess I did ask her to do this, where the colors were to match the existing, because some of the materials are new. And so she's got a mixed match. So return with missing details, adding notes where colors are to match existing structure. Yep. That captures it. And I think that was the only comment, right?
Yes.
Okay. Usual.
Are we okay with just the architecture is appropriate for the area? I kind of cringe. It's that charm. I know that my brother voted for me.
That's kind of rough. You better see.
No one cares.
So you want to change it to the architecture is appropriate for the area. Pull out charming and.
Explain this to me, sweetie.
I think charming is Isaac.
No, it's also.
Is that it? I'm conflicted on this one, so I can't.
Sounds good to me.
Yes, that's fine.
Okay, doozy.
I do see that.
Your Yeah, let's start there. It's an important visual scenic corridor.
Wow.
Yeah, I changed historic to visual.
I think Puck said historic scenic corridor.
Do you want to keep it, you want to add
visual.
historic visual scenic corridor?
Yeah.
Okay. Because it's really the visual that's important to our purview.
True.
That didn't make sense. Why are they putting it on the roofs? And
That seems.
Andrew, the create a comprehensive and detailed constraints
Yes,
analysis
Leslie.
exhibit that
It's also
captures your
good-
comment.
It's also good access for maintenance.
So.
Do you want
scanning
to?
the rest of these are, and we can combine.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, right.
That's
I think that they should try to put it someplace already that site's
Well, this-
gigantically impacted already.
It's flat, you know. The mountain's flat over there. They can easily put it up there, but they just don't want to give up future mining operations.
How hard it is to
Yeah,
remove
there's gotta be a way to.
Okay, so can we move 11 after 2 and
Move
say,
I mean, as.
Maybe comma, including analysis of areas of abandoned mining.
as far as right after the detailed?
Yeah.
Okay, so, where would you put it? Provide, what did you
At
say?
the end of, after exhibit,
Okay,
comma, including air analysis of analysis. Areas of abandoned.
I think you could take just analysis out and leave it just the way
Yeah,
it was.
of areas of abandoned mining, period.
Yep, ended at mining, Nicole. There you go.
Do you want them to note if they're suitable for panels or not as well?
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
sure.
So just put the period after panels.
Yeah, just leave it like it is and end it there.
With pan, yeah.
And
Yeah.
if they're not suitable, the reasons before
Yeah, exactly.
If I could add to just making sure we capture some visual representation of optimal solar areas, you know, just within whatever site I was bringing up. You know, there's a way to show.
Okay, hold on a second. Nicole, can you, I don't think we need the noting why or why not, because that's, as Alan said, it's covered before.
Yeah.
Okay, so period there, and then I think, you could say such as, and then you need to say, prime solar collection,
Right.
slopes.
Yeah.
Resources, visual impacts, and leave it at that.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
I was thinking that earlier.
Et cetera.
Okay, just et cetera, yeah. Okay. Now, I hesitate to say, provide at least 10 more photo simulations. I know that was your comment, was kind of what you were saying, because you said road, drone, all vantage points, you were talking about lots of different. I think that ties into our questions about more contextual information.
Yeah, exactly. It's just,
So I
it's
think
adding on
that.
to what he said.
Right, so could we say where it says, at 3, could we start there and say, a site visit, is going to be necessary,
For the project.
for the project, and I think that we'll come back to later, I think that's gonna identify, where we want,
Plantings. Okay, I'm good with that.
well, where we want more,
Everything.
simulations.
Right.
And then you can say that, we can also say that it's anticipated that additional visual simulations will be required.
That's good.
Right, because every single agency is gonna look at
Well, there's only two.
All two are.
And then I think you can take out the next
Ministerial
sentence.
means that it's,
Yep.
it just is.
Not going to the plan.
Okay,
Yeah,
so,
it's not
I don't think we wanted the native trees in the simulation instead of the
courtesy then?
eucalyptus. I think that comment can come out because I think it's covered later. When we talk about, okay, so take that out too, please.
Energy is.
Thank
obviously sort
you.
of-
These are great notes, by the way, Nicole. It always blows my mind how much you're
Yeah.
able to capture, especially when you got somebody like me rattling off at like 1,000,000 miles an hour. Vegetation is supposed to be planted. I think the history and the context of the site, as well as potential restoration, is going to impact the planting plan selections.
What? I lost that sentence.
Okay, so the history,
Number one?
we're in 4.
Yeah, isn't that just a sentence?
Yeah, take out the key, yeah. The history and the kind of, as well as potential restoration
It's not
area.
anything. Do what?
The history and context of the site, as well as potential restoration areas, are going to impact planting and the landscape plan selections.
Oh.
It's plant.
Just say plant selections.
Okay, just leave it,
Strike landscape.
okay. Put plan,
So they have a clean out.
okay. Bruce, you go. Sorry to be going, no, sir, please consider, okay, that was my, consider about the changing fix.
10 and 11 might want to slide up to under 2.
Sure.
Yeah.
Just about there.
They have it.
Yeah, take place in 3 and 4, yep.
That site has been mined for 100 years and it's so impacted, I can't.
That's great.
Someplace that's already been devastated.
It would be, do not put a V ditch, alongside, and just don't use a V ditch anywhere on the site, basically. That's what I'm saying.
We will never
Were
approve.
they proposing one?
It sure looks like it.
It's only a matter of time.
And it looks like it's already on the civils plan.
And we don't like the typical engineer.
It's just overly engineered for the
It's so
site.
close to the Blue Line Creek.
Yeah.
That's why they.
That's why they've got it, yeah. Oh, I know that's why they got it. That's why I said something.
But they're also collecting and concentrating water
Right.
in
Yeah.
those ditches.
To one area.
That doesn't,
Which
it make,
It defeats the whole,
Yeah, that's what,
it's the,
anyway, we're discussing the project, so let's stop.
okay.
We're perilously close to discussing the project. Okay, I'm pleased that you plan to replace existing vegetation below the panels rather than using gravel or other highly reflective material.
why don't we say we support the
Okay.
replacement?
We support the replacement of existing vegetation.
Please, not charge, nothing.
No, she's very picky, which is good.
So his name is Larry Ivers.
I thought they were both Isaacson.
They are.
Devin Isaacson.
And Sally.
Or he's the one who spoke, who's, I thought was really, gave really good.
Oh, that guy.
Yep. Okay, I think does that capture everything? Did we get
Yes.
everything? A long list. As
Mhm.
it poles, vegetation, screening, site visit.
Let me ask you a question. Please do not use a V ditch anywhere on site. Does this project have, what if they wanted to put a V ditch in someplace where they're excavating? Has nothing to do with the
Yeah.
site panels.
For this project.
I would say something about for this project. We
Yeah.
can't tell them what to do anywhere, but where this project.
Okay, so, yeah, anywhere on site,
For this project.
Okay, that's fine.
anywhere on the solar panel site. How's that?
That's fine, yeah.
Anywhere on the solar panel site
Site or sites.
Yeah, but
or site.
make sure you put that S in there for.
Please do not use a V ditch anywhere on the solar panel site, parentheses, S, parentheses, period. How's that?
That's fine. I just want to point out that they may have restoration sites that are not solar panel sites that could have a V
We'll
ditch.
burn that bridge when we get to it.
Okay.
Not crossing.
Not cross.
No, my daddy always said, you burn that bridge when you get to it instead of when you cross it. Meaning you can't go back once you, yeah. Sorry, Dad had a few, things. And then we wanted parentheses around the S, or do you guys want to keep it just like that? Because right now it's only one site.
I think
No,
yes,
that's
that's fine.
Yeah.
It's a little insurance.
Yeah.
All right, period. And everything else looks good?
Yeah.
Yeah. A
Okay.
period after road, I'm,
She'll get those.
okay, good.
Just okay, what is the deal with V ditches again? Well, I've looked on it.
They're ugly.
Oh, that's okay.
No, it's
No.
not only that.
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn and then we
Yeah.
can answer.
And why would they put?
I second the motion.
What's the purpose of it?
Seconded,
Collect water.
close us out here.
Direct it into one.
Thank you,
Oh,
Nicole.
okay.
Thanks,
Thank you,
Nicole.
Hope you feel better.
Bye. Thank you.